Most authors think that self-publishing is expensive, but it doesn't have to be. In fact, when I publish a book, I pay for only one thing. One. And it's probably not what you think. Hi, I'm Carolyn Choate, and with my fiction pen name, I have made over $50,000 in royalties, mostly passively. On this channel, I show fiction and nonfiction authors how to build a thriving author career without working 24/7. But you can't make money from your books if they aren't available for sale yet, so this series is all about how to get your books published. If you're going the self-publishing route like me, follow along with this playlist. And if you're not sure how to choose which publishing option is best for you, traditional, hybrid, or self-publishing, then I have a video about that here. Before print-on-demand services, you had to pay to have paper books printed and shipped to you if you were going to self-publish. There were no ebooks, so it was much more expensive. The costs have gone down dramatically since those days. It is more affordable than ever to publish your own books. In this video, I'm first going to talk about all the things you could potentially pay for when self-publishing a book, and how to reduce costs on each of those things, then which things you should never pay for, and why it might be the right choice for you to invest in some of these things. Then finally, I'll reveal how I get away with not paying for them at all. And the one thing I always pay for with every book. One of the appeals of traditional publishing, of course, is having a company invest in your book by paying for editing, cover design, maybe even some marketing. If you want to put out a book that's worth someone spending time and money on, you have several things to consider. Top of the list is editing, and there are actually different kinds of book editing. It's not all just checking the grammar. Usually there's first a developmental edit, which looks at the overall structure of the book and whether it's working. And next, a line editor to look more closely at the prose itself. Finally, a proofread. Does your book need all of these to be done by a professional? Maybe. But let's talk about how you can accomplish all three of these for a much lower cost. Particularly for fiction writers, you need to strengthen your instincts for book structure. If you're lacking in that, the number one thing I recommend is participating in writing critique workshops. You can get feedback from peers, usually for free, and also learn by giving feedback to them. It is very hard to listen to people critiquing your work right in front of you, but that too is an extremely valuable skill as an author. Coming to critique groups with an open mind, ready to learn, will not only help you strengthen your writing, but also to develop that thick skin that is so necessary once your book is out in the world and not everyone loves it. We've seen too many of these authors behaving badly, freaking out over low reviews, and low reviews are inevitable. They have their place too. I'll talk more about that in the reviews video. But a developmental edit is very expensive, but you can hone your instincts for that developmental structure of the book by participating in critique workshops. You can also utilize the services at Pro Writing Aid, which even has a manuscript analysis tool that is the next best thing to having a developmental editor go through your book. In fact, Pro Writing Aid also offers a free grammar, style, and spell check tool. So the style suggestions are very much like a line edit, and then you also get the proofreading. So there's a link to them in the description. In terms of proofreading, also, of course, Grammarly does that as well. I am sure you've heard tons about them already. That said, the editing technique that I use that catches more issues than anything else is totally free, and I'll explain what that is when we get to the section about how I managed to not pay for editing at all. Next up is the second highest expense an indie author faces, cover design. This is very important to get right. I don't say that to scare you, but the cover looking professional, clean, readable, and matching the tone of the genre you're writing in is going to be crucial to book sales. It is the very first impression people have of your book. If the cover looks amateur, it's natural for people to assume the writing will be amateur, even though that doesn't really make sense, because if we're good at writing, why would we also be good at graphic design? Who knows? But it is an assumption that people make. I have heard readers say it. I've heard them say that they won't invest in a book if the author clearly hasn't. I have a couple of videos later in the series about how I make my own book covers, and this is one of the places where I'm going to talk to you in a few minutes about why it might be best for you to turn this over to a professional, even though I don't. So let's first talk about how you can get book covers at a much cheaper cost than paying for an artist. There is something called pre-made covers. So they have a gallery of designs for various different genres. You pick out one that you like. When you order it, the artist will customize it and put in your book title and author name. It's very limited how much customization you can get, but if the design looks just right for your book, then go for it. These can also be a bit on the expensive side. I mean, $99 is pretty normal, and I'll have a link in the description to some of the nicer galleries that I've seen where the books look very professional. You can also find them on Etsy. I have a link to that in the description. The next option is you can utilize Canva or Kindle templates. And of course, there's also marketplaces. There's marketplaces such as Fiverr, where people will offer design services, and Millbart, which I think not a lot of authors have heard of. If you follow Dale at the Self-Publishing Podcast, then you'll be familiar with Millbart. And I also have a link to them in the description. I do want to caution you to watch out on any of the marketplaces. Hiring a cover artist is trickier than ever because of AI. There may be people selling book cover design services who don't have the experience or skills, but are kind of faking it by using AI. And there may be people who make covers that you like using AI, but they don't disclose to you that they're using it. I've definitely seen authors whose readers have rebelled about them using AI art, and they go, I paid for a cover artist, and they said they weren't using AI. And the readers who are, have an eye for these things, who are artists, will be looking at it and going, it's obviously AI. And we're like, we're writers. We don't freaking know what's obviously AI art. So I caution you, because it's of course up to you if you want to use AI art in your cover, but there are readers who will refuse to buy a book with AI art. So it's something that you should definitely be aware of. So editing and cover design are the biggest expenses you'll face as an author. There are other things you might need to pay for when it comes to marketing the book, putting up your author website, video later in the series about how crucial that part is. But in terms of getting your book up for sale, which is really what publishing means, the book can be purchased from a retailer. The only other things you would need to spend money on is the ISBN, more on that in a moment, and potentially book formatting, interior design, maybe back cover copy, blurb writing, since that's a very different skill from book writing. So some ways that you can save money in terms of formatting are Reedsy has a free formatting option. Atticus is a software that is a one-time purchase. Vellum, similarly, a little bit more expensive than Atticus. Canva, I use Canva, not the templates like the book cover, but I will design if I'm doing something that's a more specialty interior, like my book launch planner that has a lot of worksheets and graphics. I used Canva to format that. Or even Word or Google Docs, you can look up how do I format an ebook in Google Docs and get, a rundown of the basics. If you format yourself, Atticus does make it almost foolproof. There is one setting in Atticus that I'll explain in the formatting video in this series because it makes a big difference in readability. So be sure to save this playlist so that you can get that. Now, one of the things that you should never pay for, one is ARC readers. I will have a whole video all about what ARC campaigns are. This is advanced reader copies, where you send out free copies of your book that say on them, not for resale. This is before the book is published, to get early reviews and buzz going. And never pay someone to be an ARC reader, which is similar to never pay for reviews. Never directly pay for reviews. There are some services where it's kind of towing the line, where it's like you're not paying for the reviews, you're paying to get access to this marketplace of reviewers, things like that. I would still be very cautious with that. Anything where it looks like you're paying for a review makes the review less valid for readers. Even for the platforms, for Amazon, it could be taken down if it looks like you paid for reviews, because reviews are meant to be completely unbiased. Be cautious about paying for marketing. This is an area rife with scams and people taking advantage of your author dreams. PR is legitimately expensive, and if you want actual attention for your book in the larger consciousness, you'll probably have to invest heavily. But be sure to check references, validate case studies and claims before hiring anyone for anything marketing or PR related. I do have a link in the description to some author PR firms, and there's an interview I did with one of the owners on the channel as well. Those are the things to be careful about when spending money. And if you do want to hire professionals for any of these things, Readsy does have a marketplace of people to work on your book, and they did this analysis of average costs for self-publishing a book based on their own marketplace.
Book in 2025, I can now reveal the truth with the help of exclusive data from Readsy's marketplace of professional publishing freelancers. Editing. Let's say I have an 80,000 word science fiction manuscript. According to Readsy's editing cost calculator, it'll cost around $4,300 for a professional developmental edit and a copy edit. Bear in mind, we're talking about professional editors here with experience at some of the biggest publishers in the world. You can definitely get your cousin with a BA in English to do it for cheaper, but we're focusing on professional grade work here. Book cover design, the cost will vary, but over half of the professional covers designed on Readsy cost between $600 and $1,200 US. Pre-made covers are cheaper, and you can get AI to make you one for free, but in both of these cases, you won't have a cover that will help you sell books anywhere near as well as something designed by a professional who has worked on bestsellers. For my one, I'll go with Readsy's average $880. Formatting? Formatting used to be a hassle. Now, Readsy Studio lets you format your book for free, just upload your manuscript and go. And setting up your book on platforms like Amazon KDP, Google Play Store, or Apple Books, $0. That's absolutely free. They will take a cut of the sales, but none of the big platforms will charge you upfront. If anyone out there is charging you just to publish, walk away. So, to get my book self-published to a professional standard in 2025 might cost me around $5,200. Now that's not cheap, but it's also not bad if your aim is to produce a beautiful book that will sit alongside your contemporary. Plus, it's 100% all in your control. To estimate the cost of self-publishing your book, head to our guide now and use our self-publishing cost calculator. Link in bio. Follow me for more publishing tips.
They also have a calculator that he mentioned, so I'll have the link to that in the description, and it will help you to determine what your costs might look like. But note that he said to a professional standard. This might sound shocking, but I think it's wise to consider your genre, your audience, and your author career goals before spending thousands of dollars to publish a single book. I write contemporary romances that are relatively short and simple. They are not meant to be great literature, studied for generations. Their purpose is to entertain. And yes, it's important to me that if someone pays money for the product that is my book, that it be a great experience and not an unedited mess. But at the same time, I'm not going to spend hundreds or thousands on an intensive edit of a book that is fluff at the end of the day. Maria at All Write Well on YouTube has a video about how she publishes books to a professional standard for $500, which is definitely more reasonable than the Readsy estimate, so I'll link to her video in the description as well. My method is more radical, and there's a part of it I hesitated to share publicly because people have strong feelings about it. Not to do with AI, I promise. It is also one of the reasons why my books become profitable quickly. So first, let me explain why my methods of not paying for editing or cover design might not be ideal for brand new authors. A cover design that doesn't work in the market will stop your sales cold, which is extremely discouraging, and shooting your author career in the foot. As I said in the previous video, most of us authors don't know enough about book cover design to create an effective one marketing-wise, without getting bogged down and wanting to include all the details and things that we like about our books. So that is one pitfall of designing your own cover that could really stop you, because if you're discouraged and that first book isn't selling, it's really hard to move on and do a second book. Now, if you do get people buying your books, but they find them hard to read because of bad formatting, editing, or proofreading, then your author career might not recover from the bad reviews that can result in. Those reviews will stay with it, even if you improved the book and re-upload it. So it's probably best to find a middle ground where you're comfortable. But if you really can't afford it and need to get profitable as quickly as possible, I have bootstrapped my way to better books through experience, and you can also bootstrap your books to more income to pay for these things in the future, as long as your initial efforts are good enough to get some sales going. So here's how I get away with not paying anything for editing, proofreading, cover design, back cover blurb, or formatting. Self-editing is the part I was reluctant to share publicly. It's controversial because of how easy it is for us to miss important things because of our own blind spots, or because we're just so familiar with the text that we gloss over errors. Now, if your book has potential to cause offense if not handled well, a sensitivity reader is probably a good idea, unless you are confident you can deal with any backlash. In terms of editing my fiction novels, this is what I do. 1, I put it aside, wait a few days without looking at it at all. Then I print out a physical copy to read through and mark up. Looking at it in that different format really helps me to see typos, errors, things that I've missed. Then I transfer those corrections to the digital copy. And then I read the whole book out loud. This is the most important step. It's amazing at catching grammatical errors, repetitions, lack of flow in the sentences. You definitely do not want to skip this one. Read the book out loud. Then I run it through a spell check, set it aside again for a few more days, give it one more read through, and then I'm done. I do offer a self-editing checklist to guide you as part of my author marketing starter bundle on my website, but that one is specifically for nonfiction books, so it's going to include some of the things about making sure you have enough case studies and which diagrams, things like that. So you can check that out if you would like to. For the cover design, I have discovered that I really enjoy creating covers. It's a creative outlet. It's very different from writing, so when I'm bogged down in the story, I take a break by playing around with the cover ideas. I was pretty bad at it in the beginning. And getting feedback from graphic design friends helped a lot, but also just doing lots of them and practicing and getting better. Now I'm pretty good at it, and I will have a video about the exact system I use to create book covers. So save this playlist so you don't miss that one. For formatting, I use Atticus. I didn't count that as a cost for publishing new books because it is just a one-time expense. It's a great tool to have. It can spit your book out perfectly ready for both ebook and print on demand. And that is also going to be a video in this series about formatting. So I will show you how to format your book interior, both with tools like Atticus and not, because this series is meant to be step-by-step of every single aspect of putting your book out into the world. So what is the one thing that I always pay for? It's the ISBN. If you are publishing a print-on-demand paperback or hardcover copy of your book, you must have ISBNs for them, and you must purchase them yourself. You will be offered free ISBNs in many of these systems when you upload your book, and in the next video, I'm going to explain why you should never take them up on that. I'll get into a lot more detail in the next video, but for now, I'll just tell you that in the US, a single ISBN from Balker costs $125. However, they do sell them in bulk, so you can get I believe it's a 10-pack for $2.95. I bought mine a while ago, so I don't remember the exact number. I'll have to look it up, but that would drop the price to just about $30 per ISBN. Yeah, much better than $125. And you're going to need at least one if you're going to have any kind of paperback version. You might need 2 to 4 per book if you're also going to use one in the ebook, which is usually optional. Again, we'll get into that in more detail later. And one for audiobook, one for hardcover. A different ISBN is needed for each kind of format. So tune in next time where I'll explain what an ISBN is, how they work, why it's so important to purchase your own, where you get them from, and all of that other stuff. So make sure you subscribe, save the playlist, and then jump into the next video right here.